Walk more femininely, talk more femininely, dress more femininely, wear makeup, style your hair, and wear jewelry. That was what Ann Hopkins was advised she had to do to have a shot at being a partner at the prominent accounting firm Price Waterhouse. Price Waterhouse vs. Hopkins was a Supreme Court case that shattered the barrier of gender discrimination in the workplace. Ann's courage and perseverance helped to ensure that women are treated more equally in American workplaces today. During America's early history, women were denied the basic rights male citizens benefited from. Married women couldn't own property, had no legal claim to any money they might earn, and most women could not vote in elections. The prevailing narrative was that women were expected to focus on housework and motherhood. However, after almost a century of protest, the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution granted American women the right to vote on August 18, 1920. And yet, women were still fighting for equal rights as citizens. The media helped perpetuate stereotypes of women. During the 1940s and 1950s, women were portrayed in movies, magazines, and television shows to be housewives and caregivers, while the hard-working men went to work. When they did work, women earned substantially less than men who held the same position. During the Cold War, the worry within society was that gender roles were being blurred. Some felt it was essential for men to reassert their dominance and for women to return back to accepted gender norms. Historian Elaine Tyler May called it a kind of domestic containment. Author Betty Friedan identified this malaise as a problem with no name in her landmark book The Feminine Mystique, 1963. The book's popularity attested to Friedan's connection with a feeling of discontent. Daughters who came of age in the 1960s were determined to make their lives less constrained than those of their mothers. Ann Hopkins was born on December 18, 1943 in Galveston, Texas. Her father was an army officer and mother a nurse. Both parents had an impact on Ann's life, especially her mother, who always told her that when you shake hands, you should always shake hands firmly, and when you walk into a room, you should walk in as if you owned it. Ann Hopkins took those words to heart and built a reputation for herself. In fact, even though she was one of the few female employees at Price Waterhouse, Hopkins helped secure a government contract worth up to $44 million, which was one of the largest deeds in accounting history at that time, and she worked more hours than her male counterparts. She designed computer systems for her clients, and job evaluations praised her as a terribly hard worker and one of the very best. Through hard work and dedication, Ann Hopkins did not conform to gender stereotypes at Price Waterhouse and was acknowledged by her peers. Either you loved Ann or you were intimidated to no end by her, Fred Tombaugh, one of her former colleagues, said. There were no lukewarm feelings about Ann. Everyone knew she knew her stuff and was wicked smart. However, despite the glowing reviews, her achievements, and her contributions, her superiors accused Hopkins of bearing male traits like being aggressive and stated that she was simply not feminine enough. Management felt that Ann wasn't the ideal image of a woman. She wore masculinely cut clothing, cut her hair short, and rode a motorcycle. Combined with a pushy, difficult, and overbearing personality, she was mocked and wasn't valued as much as her male colleagues. After 4 years of working at Price Waterhouse, the company offered the opportunity for a partnership. Ann Hopkins was put up for the position in 1982 by her managers, being the only woman among 88 candidates. But she was denied by the executives and was told that her partnership will be put up for reconsideration the following year. The next year, when Ann applied for partnership again, she was denied. I never thought that being a woman was an obstacle when I was at Price Waterhouse, Ms. Hopkins said. At the time I left, I just thought I had been given an irrational explanation for a bad business decision. It was only later, when we were in litigation, that I found out about the comments that I need to go to charm school, that I was too macho, that I was overcompensating for being a woman. Prior to Price Waterhouse vs. Hopkins, there were laws set into place that established rules for employment procedures. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed discrimination against race, religion, ethnicity, or sex in many situations, such as public transport, public accommodations, and hiring practices included. In addition, the Equal Rights Amendment was previously ratified in Maryland in 1972, which dictated that all Americans had equal legal rights regardless of gender. Both laws would support that women and men would be treated as equally as possible in matters of employment and other topics, at least on paper. Despite this movement forward, equality was still far out of sight. Before Anne's case in 1984, another woman, Elizabeth Hishen, had already attempted to sue King and Spalding, an Atlanta law firm, for gender discrimination. Although the case was accepted, it was settled out of court, and Miss Hishen never returned to the firm.
At the Supreme Court today, the issue was sex discrimination and what to do when a woman claims that she wasn't being judged by the same standards by which men are judged.
Anne Hopkins led the change for equality after her brave decision to sue the corporation due to dismissing her application for partnership solely on the basis of sex. Hopkins won 2 federal court cases, one in 1985 and another in 1987. In 1985, federal Judge Garhead A. Jessel ruled in favor on the grounds of discriminatory stereotyping of females, saying that comments influenced by sex stereotypes were key factors in denying Miss Hopkins her partnership with Price Waterhouse. However, Miss Hopkins' request for $1.2 million in damages or to be reinstated to her old job and be made a partner at Price Waterhouse was not granted by Jessel. Therefore, Anne Hopkins continued to pursue her case until it was taken up by the Supreme Court, where the final decision was made. An employer must demonstrate that hiring decisions were based on merit, not discriminatory notions, including those related to gender. This conclusion had the court recognize that discrimination based on sex stereotyping is unlawful under Title VII, which led to more equality in the workplace, a huge step forward for women. One of the most significant testimonies made in the case was by psychologist Susan Fisk, who made a point stating that gender stereotypes played a major role in Price Waterhouse's decision to reject Anne's partnership role. Fisk had explained that in such a huge corporation, where women are a minority, gender does indeed become a determining factor. She went on further to state that professional women face a double bind when working in such companies, as in order to be successful, they must display masculine skills and qualities, yet they also have to uphold society's expectations of women. Whilst evaluating the comments made towards Hopkins, Fisk saw clear categorical thinking. The comments exhibited gendered expectations, hence proving how Price Waterhouse had factored gender stereotypes when denying Hopkins a partnership role. In 1989, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of Hopkins, and that an employer must demonstrate that hiring decisions were based on merit, not discriminatory notions, including those related to gender. In forbidding employers to discriminate against individuals because of their sex, Congress intended to strike at the entire spectrum of disparate treatment of men and women resulting from sex stereotypes, Justice William J. Brennan Jr. wrote in his majority opinion. An employer who objects to aggressiveness in women but whose position requires this trait places women in an intolerable and impermissible catch-22. Out of a job if they behave aggressively, and out of a job if they don't. Title VII lifts women out of this bind. In 1990, federal Judge Jessel issued a second ruling for Price Waterhouse to give Ms. Hopkins a partnership and $370,000 in back pay. He found that the firm maintained a partnership evaluation system that permitted negative, sexually stereotyped comments to influence partnership selection. And although she knew that she was not wanted, Hopkins decided to rejoin Price Waterhouse. The whole ordeal was legend, friend Tom Barr said in an interview. Gender stereotyping isn't just a major issue today. It has been built up over centuries of discrimination, hundreds of cases going unnoticed, and the continued use of outdated and false opinions. However, thanks to the results of the court case, workplace discrimination has gradually begun to lessen. The case Price Waterhouse v. Hopkins marked monumental change for women in the workplace by making it explicit, for the first time in any Title VII case, that sex stereotyping was a form of sex discrimination. This case also opened the doors to social science's importance in many discrimination cases. The use of social science research to help analyze and evaluate a court case's evidence has increased because of Susan Fisk's testimony's importance in Anne Hopkins' argument against Price Waterhouse. Anne Hopkins' case and many other like cases led to an increase in public awareness of harassment and discrimination. Not only did it help protect the rights of women, but also LGBTQ men and women in the workplace. It inspires people, and the case is still cited in legal cases and widely taught in law classes. Most recently, the case has been cited in cases involving discrimination against transgender men and women in the workplace. Lawyers have cited the case to use as a precedent in protecting applicants from being discriminated against due to gender identity. Overall, the Price Waterhouse v. Hopkins case has not only broken barriers for employment practices for women during the 1990s, but also continued to influence the notion of employment equality for everyone in the workplace.